So I'm sure you watched the Coleman Hughes Dave Smith debate. One of the best things I've ever watched. Was awesome. I mean, I want to say this about Dave Smith. I like Dave Smith, to be honest. And if he didn't talk about Israel, and a few of the other little weird conspiracies that he talks about, like I think he would be like a cool guy to hang out with, like to be honest. Um, but he's gone sort of off the deep end about some of these things, and he has yet to sort of confront someone that really nails him on certain subjects where he can't just say like these generic talking points. It could have happened with Douglas Murray, but that was sort of a weird thing that happened there. We could talk about that also. I think we talked about that last time. But anyways, you know me. I'd like to preface it with saying something sort of kind about the guy. You know, he's a father. He's got
Yeah.
children. I'm glad he's making money for his kids and all these types of things and whatever, whatever, whatever. Because I know you're about to go in on this shit, but that was an incredible, that was an incredible conversation. By Coleman Hughes. He did an absolutely fantastic job. Was very well prepared. Was calm. Was direct. Spoke very elegantly. Like he's a brilliant guy, obviously, if you followed him. But your reaction to that conversation slash debate slash ass whooping.
Okay, so first and foremost, the one thing I want anybody on the fucking internet to tell me, what is your favorite Dave Smith joke? He is comic Dave Smith, and I have never heard him tell a joke. And when he tells a joke, it always bombs in podcasts. They're really fucking bad jokes. And there was one at the end of the debate with Coleman Hughes where he told the joke, and Coleman was like, huh? And Dave Smith was like, oh, it was a joke. It was a joke. I'm like, that's the only time I've ever fucking seen you really try to tell a joke. And apparently you don't do the comic stuff funny. And I've even looked up his bits on YouTube. I'm like, they're not good. He's not that funny. So the reaction to the debate, first and foremost, you said that Coleman Hughes came prepared. He absolutely did. In fact, somebody on X had pointed that out, and I said, okay, so you're mad that he brought notes to the debate so that he could perfectly quote the person he was trying to quote. It's like it wasn't a closed blue book exam. It was a debate where he was using sources. You're not just allowed to do that. It makes for a better fucking debate as opposed to Dave Smith, who always has to generalize. And that was the thing that Coleman Hughes did so well. He kept going at him on specifics. And hearkening back to the Joe Rogan debate, that was what Douglas Murray was saying with the "you've never been," like that viral moment. He was saying, you don't know the specifics about this. So what the fuck are you even talking about? Every single thing that you tried to do is a relayed thought. Now, for me, my issue with Dave Smith is always the fact that his outlook will get more people killed. He has the
Mm.
idea that war is bad. No fucking shit, my dude. Yes, war is bad, but there are times where war is necessary. World War II, I always like to point out, absolutely necessary. I always point out dropping the bombs on Nagasaki, make that on Hiroshima and then Nagasaki. I believe I even used this phrase last time because it wasn't at the same time on the same day. It was Hiroshima or Hiroshima, as my dad would say, and then Nagasaki 2 days later. It wasn't the same fucking day. They didn't give up. It was necessary. And that didn't just save, I'm going to bring it back to Israel Gaza in a moment. Dropping those bombs didn't just save American lives, it saved Japanese lives, millions of Japanese lives, not to talk even about the probably upwards to 1 million American lives that it in fact saved. So here, Israel versus Gaza, Israel saved Palestinian lives. 60,000, maybe 67,000 dead, at least 20,000 of those, if not, I think the number might be 30,000, if not a little bit more. But let's just use the most conservative numbers. 67,000 Palestinians dead, 20,000 of whom were terrorist fighters, specifically Hamas. That is the best ratio of all time. And what did Israel do by sacrificing the 500 soldiers that died in Gaza from October 7th on? That saved Palestinian lives. This was a necessary war. So when Dave Smith has this outlook that wars are bad, what he's saying is all wars are bad. That's not true. That's not real. Because when a genocidal horde comes after you to murder you and yours, guess what? You need to go to war with them, because if you don't, everybody's going to go to war with you, and your group, your clan, whatever it is that you call the people that you surround yourselves with, whether that be a state or a country, it doesn't matter. It will not last to the end of the week if you do not stand up for yourselves. So if Israel didn't respond to the act of genocide committed against them by Palestinian terrorists on October 7th, there was no way at all for Israel to survive as a nation. I believe Dave Smith wants that as the result, because I've
Mm.
never heard him say a good thing about Israel at no point. He doesn't know what the Nakba truly is. The Nakba, which is the Syrian historian who actually coined the term, it was all about how the Arab armies couldn't work together, and that's why they lost. That's what the Nakba is, not the 800,000. And again, using the other side's numbers, just so people don't say that I'm, faking the numbers or anything like that. That's not what the Nakba was. For decades, that's not what the Nakba was. So Dave Smith disagrees with just the foundation of Israel. So that's why every single one of his arguments fails. They just fail because he doesn't want Israel to be Israel. He always talks about apartheid and genocide, yet he's never going to talk about the literal apartheid that exists not just in Gaza, but in the Palestinian Authority controlled territories. No Jews can live there. No Jews can own land. You can't do that if you're a Jew like me and a Jew like you. But you'll never hear him talk about that apartheid. You'll never hear him refer to as October 7th as a genocide. And that's what Coleman Hughes kept doing. Coleman Hughes just kept it right on point. And every time Dave Smith had a point that did not make any sense for Dave Smith's own worldview, Coleman Hughes pointed it out. And that's why it was so good. Coleman Hughes wasn't making claims for Israel. Coleman Hughes was trying to get Dave Smith to abide by his own worldview, and he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I should retract my statements I just made about Dave
No,
Smith
it's okay,
about
because
3
he
minutes
doesn't.
ago.
I will say this. He is a guy where, if, like, I had a couple of beers and we were talking about fucking anything else
Anything
I've ever
else?
heard. Anything else, right? He doesn't look like a bad dude in that regard.
Yeah,
He's a
that's what I was trying
bad
to
dude.
say.
Right. He's a bad dude in my book because he doesn't want a country of which I'm a citizen to exist. He thinks
Right.
it is the font of all evil. And again, just like Tucker Carlson, his foreign policy analyses are fucking putrid, and he'll never admit it. Again, he was a World War III guy. Fuck you. Such a bad one. And no one gives a shit on the right now. It's so weird.
I did want to mention about specifically in that episode with Coleman and Dave. Like, one of the cool parts was that really stood out to me was, like, Dave was talking about sort of how Israel, the establishment of Israel, and when he says stuff that is probably true, but then Coleman points out, like, it's also a lie of omission. Now, if
Yeah.
someone doesn't know more of the truth, they think what you're saying is the whole truth, and then it's believable because he says it with confidence. He's a very smart guy. He knows a lot of things. He's read a lot of stuff. I'll
I
give him
think
a
he's
ton of
autodidactic.
credit there.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, I think that's very cool because, all of us are just dudes doing dude shit. None of us are, any smarter than anyone else, like kind of like we talked about last time. But then Coleman points out, like, but that's a lie of omission. You're leaving out crucial details that don't show the full picture of what you're talking about. And I think once that was pointed out, those who are actually watching with some intent kind of figured out what sort of the game plan of someone like Dave Smith could potentially be. And that was nice and eye-opening for me, at least when I was watching it. Thank you very much for tuning in to that clip. If you enjoyed it, then you'll love the full-length episode right here. Right here. Click it. Go ahead.